going on, Jerome's raw, real, undisclosed location rant. I kind of like these audio ones, mainly because I don't have to do my makeup. Just wake up looking naturally this good. But, a lot of questions. I don't know, I feel like we Vikings fans are definitely spoiled with us this offseason. Because Kwesi's doubled down at basically every position of need. 2 offensive linemen, 2 pass rushing D tackles, 2 running backs at the same time, man. 2 cornerbacks as well. And now, the only thing that we're nitpicking, just who's going to be tight end 3, maybe an extra cornerback, and then also what about quarterback 2? What's going to happen behind JJ McCarthy? Now, yeah, all the talkers about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Rodgers. Oh, future Hall of Famer. Yeah, again, a guy who hasn't been good since 2021. But let's just ignore all of that, all right? And don't want to relitigate this, but it did seem like the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell watched some film. They discussed things, as Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi do with probably every single available quarterback. Hell, Kwesi and O'Connell have probably talked about Cam Ward. There's 0 chance they're getting Cam Ward in the draft, right? But being thorough is part of your job. And yes, Rodgers was an option. Now, did that end up being 50-50 or seriously considered? No, I don't think it was. Anyways, but, the Vikings, so Kevin O'Connell obviously has this reputation of being the quarterback whisperer, and rightfully so. Right, won a Super Bowl as the OC of the Rams with Matthew Stafford. Got the best bowl out of Kirk Cousins, and slinging Sammy Darnold. Also, the Pastronaut. Let's not forget that Nick Mullins almost had 2 400-yard games against the Lions. It's great, and you do trust JJ McCarthy with him. Now, backup quarterback's important, just because you don't want your season coming down to one fluke play, and that happens a lot. And I do feel like a lot of teams around the league, they don't have a viable backup quarterback, right? So if one fluke play goes against them, their season's over, right? And with the backup quarterback for McCarthy, it's not so much you want an alternative, right? Because JJ is going to be the guy sink or swim. Yeah, if you prove that he's the guy after the season, great. If not, then you can have a discussion. But I'm pretty bullish on what JJ McCarthy's going to do, right? But there's a couple of options that the Vikings have. So number one is the old veteran backup, right? Someone who aged, knows their role, can add some mentorship and all that stuff. So you got Joe Flacco out there, Tannehill, who the Vikings and him have reportedly had discussions, but nothing imminent. Also, if the Falcons somehow, some way get rid of Kirk Cousins, that could be an option because, frankly, I don't think it would divide the locker room at all, even though a lot of these players in the locker room were here when Kirk Cousins was team captain and the quarterback. I just think that the bloom is off the rose. Cousins knows that he's not a starter anymore and could settle in nicely into a backup quarterback role before he heads into the media, which I actually think Kirk Cousins will be good on NFL on Fox or in the booth or whatever. But with Cousins, that he just wants to hammer those backup quarterback checks. You get $7-8 million per year for doing nothing. It's kind of good, right? So they go that route. But also think about, too, do the Vikings necessarily need that veteran quarterback option as a backup to JJ? Because one of the reasons you want them in that room is for the veteran leadership and mentorship. But the Vikings also have that with quarterbacks coach Josh McCown, right? So he's literally a peer for some of these guys like Flacco, Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers in terms of age and experience, right? So you have that, right? Or hell, maybe we should just make Josh McCown the backup. Who says no? Besides Josh McCown and his family and his agent and whatever. And then you got guys like Drew Lock, former second-round pick, bounced around the league a little bit, has some upside, but you're not really thrilled. Carson Wentz, who's only 32. And what's absolutely bat-bleep insane about Carson Wentz, he's going to be on a 6th team in 6 different years. So I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the teams. I don't know. All right. But also you have options like trade. All right. So look at Will Levis, second-round pick by the Titans, 2023. Obviously has not come together. But Levis did have that one play, that one fluke deep-ass touchdown to Akeem Westbrook against the Vikings. And never count out, hey, that guy looked good against the scouting. And Will Levis has physical tools, has some athleticism, but he's been a rolling ecological disaster when it comes to on the field play. Off the field play, I mean, we've seen it's okay now, but I feel like Kevin O'Connell is beyond being the quarterback whisperer. Like he's feeling himself. Like turning around Will Levis would be the ultimate heat check. Turning him into like a serviceable backup, which would be great. But also, don't discount the draft. Like I don't think you can rule that out. And no, you would not be drafting a quarterback to replace JJ McCarthy, but having a young developmental quarterback, I think that could be right up Kevin O'Connell's alley. And same thing with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, because it is the most important position in sports. And ideally, once you have a franchise quarterback, you want to surround him with talent. I mean, why waste another pick on quarterback? But you saw in New England, Brady and the Patriots, they were consistently using third-round pick Ryan Mallett, second-round pick Jimmy Garoppolo, fourth-round pick Jabroni Briscoe. I think he was a fourth. But even before that, like Rohan Davey. Like, even though they had the guy, they were always drafting quarterbacks because it's the most important position in all team sports. And also, you look at the Packers. Yeah, stupid Packers and their stupid faces. But even if you have the guy, just taking shots. I'm team draft a quarterback every other year, right? Because churning and burning, developing behind your starter, it's important, because then you can trade off those guys who show a little something in camp or preseason games, or if they get some garbage time, or if they're forced into action, and that's valuable, because teams are always trying to find quarterbacks, mainly because they can't develop them, so they take a shot with a guy in the draft. But what if you have a quarterback factory here with the Vikings? Now, McCown and West Phillips may move on. That's perfectly fine. But you got Kevin O'Connell, who's easily one of the best quarterback offensive play callers in the league, right? So now you have a guy who's already touched on that star and has value because come up through the Kevin O'Connell system. You could trade him, or free agent, comp picks, all that stuff. So there is value in turning this into a quarterback mill. And you look in the draft, it's not a great quarterback class top to bottom. And I do think that Cam Ward is fine. Is he a sure shot number one pick? No. Shedeur Sanders, would he be in the 7th or 8th quarterback drafted if he was in last year's class? Yes. I think so. But it doesn't mean that there can't be interesting projects later on. And yeah, even though the Vikings don't have a ton of draft picks, you're looking at Brady Cook from Mizzou. Look at Kyle McCord from Syracuse. Especially, Brady Cook has that athleticism as well as across the middle accuracy. Kyle McCord, I mean, the Andy Dalton comparisons are out there. Taking a shot with one of them, with your 5th rounder, or you trade down, you get a 6th round pick. I mean, there's value there, right? And maybe Kevin O'Connell feels good enough about Brett Rippon-ass, who is 29, that you can roll with him as your backup quarterback. You'll have a developmental quarterback 3, and you go from there, right? And I know people are creaming in their jeans for Flacco and Tannehill. I would lean slightly Tannehill, but I wouldn't mind either one. But if Kevin O'Connell feels comfortable, obviously with JJ McCarthy, and if poop does hit the fan, that he could plug and play Brett Rippon, and who's had a full year head start over a guy like Flacco and Tannehill in the offense, I mean, that's his call. And you got to trust it and roll with it. All right, so there's a lot of options for the Vikings quarterback too. I think it really is dependent on what happens with Kirk Cousins, what happens with the draft, what happens with the draft is, as soon as the Titans take Cam Ward at 1, is Will Levis available for next to nothing? Maybe a draft pick swap. And Kevin O'Connell. Again, Kwesi, who they did a lot of work on Levis in the 2023 draft, ultimately passed on him in the 1st round, took Jordan Addison. But never sleep on mama, I can change him mentality, right? And Levis, Brett Rippon-ass behind JJ McCarthy. I mean, you got to trust Kevin O'Connell, man. He really is the quarterback whisperer, but we'll see. Anyways, your thoughts of what the hell is going to happen with Vikings quarterback 2? Let us know. Skull, no production value.